I'm reminded of two particular leaders that I've worked with in the corporate environment. One leader had a magical reputation because he cared so much for his people. Another leader, sadly, had caused quite a lot of harm in the organization that he worked for. In the first instance, the leader that I worked with there, when people referred to this person, they said, wow, it's because of this person that this company is thriving the way that it does. In the second instance, I remember working with that organization, people said, we really just want to leave this organization because of this person. Hi everybody, my name is Dr. Catherine van Heerden. As a consultant and business coach to many different organizations over the past 27 years, I must say I'm so fortunate to have learned and worked with many wonderful leaders and also not so great ones. And I have learned really to a great degree what seems to work well. What are the leadership shifts that need to take place if we choose to go into a leadership space? Today is all about leadership. What does it mean? And what's your responsibility? Most people aspire to grow in their workspace. They aspire to become a supervisor, a manager, a senior manager, an executive director of an organization. That's what a lot of people call success when you think about how you progress in your world of work. But we often don't think about what is this shift that needs to take place when I start stepping into a leadership space. I would like to share with you some of my own findings and some of my own recommendations as having worked with a lot of organizations in the past 27 years. The first thing that I want to kind of land with you is the following. For those of you that are married, do you remember the day that you stood in front of the preacher and you had to say, I solemnly declare that I do take this person to be my wife, to be my husband, and with that came certain shifts, certain responsibilities, certain compromises, certain agreements that you've made. Now I want to take you back to the day that you were appointed as a leader in some role or position, whether that's first line management or whether that's more senior management. There was a day that there was an opportunity that was opened or that had opened up for you. And you probably said, I solemnly declare that I do take this position as a leader in this organization. Now, do you realize that that day when you said, I do, maybe it's coming with more benefits and also more responsibilities. But one of the biggest responsibilities is I do solemnly declare that I will get the best out of the people that works for this organization. I solemnly declare that I am committed to drive the results, but also ensure personal well-being of the people of this organization. You have also given up certain rights. Do you remember the days when you were operational? Where people get together in the coffee room and they discuss the leaders, they discuss the organization, they talk about a lot of things that don't fit their need or that they are unhappy about. Do you remember those days where you felt so free to just say what you wanted to say? The day you accept a leadership role, you also give up the right to discuss anything, to discuss that what's not so great, unless you discuss it in the right platform, for the right reason, in the presence of the right people. Speaking about other people in an organization in a way that harms their reputation does not fit the leader. The leader is supposed to uphold the reputation of others, is supposed to uphold the reputation of the organization and represent the organization in the best possible way. If you aspire to become a great leader, then you need to be responsible for this. What you have said I do to, and secondly, making that shift that you've given up certain rights and you have taken on certain responsibilities. You are responsible for the atmosphere within your team because people discuss you all of the time. Don't underestimate the power of those conversations. If you have sub-leaders within the groups, and there's disruption within the team, if you are in a position or a situation where your team has separated from you and now it's a us versus them kind of scenario, you're probably in a difficult space. Because the moment people are in agreement that you are not a good leader, you're in trouble. And I don't care what you try, you're going to find it difficult. This is where you need help. You need help for somebody to mediate that restoration process. And that's the kind of work that I do. I've seen a lot of teams restored because they're just following the right process to ensure that restoration to take place. If you find yourself in a difficult space as a leader, you probably will do more of what doesn't work that alienates you even more over time. And that's a natural and a human thing, because if we're not sure how to resolve something, we tend to do more of the same that created the problem in the first place. So, seek help when you do and should you realize that you are in a difficult space. With all my interviews with operational people as well as first-line management, judging or passing an evaluation on to their senior leaders, I found that the common thing that most people say when they accuse leaders is that leaders don't have people skills. And I'll give it to you, when you start within a corporate space and you try to climb that ladder, you probably didn't enroll for psychology to learn about human behavior and what to understand about different types of personalities and how to get the best out of different kinds of people. You're not a psychologist, possibly. Maybe you have studied it. It's kind of difficult to practice it sometimes, especially in the corporate space. So yes, you're not a counselor. No, you're not a psychologist necessarily. Maybe you are, but maybe you're not. How are you supposed to know? Aren't you just supposed to bring results forward? Aren't you just supposed to give accountability upwards of the performance of your particular team or department? Well, the answer is no. It's not only that. You are responsible for driving results in high-performance teams, but you're also responsible for the wellness of the team, the emotional standing of the team, the happiness at work with the team. You're responsible for that as well. So don't make the error of just diminishing people or disregarding people and their needs. We need to be open to learn from people. Don't be afraid to ask. Ask people what is it that they need more of and less of. And do it. Take some action. So do not be accused of poor people skills. I like what John Maxwell said. He said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So first space is to ensure that people understand your caring nature for them before you drive results, because that builds trust. And that brings me to my next point. Patrick Lencioni has done a lot of interesting work and research on the importance of trust within a team. I too have worked with many teams where I've seen if the base of trust is broken and there are cracks on the foundation, then everything else that we try to build falls through the cracks, and then we waste a lot of energy. If you are in a space with your team where there's disruption, I would recommend that you stop. Just stop for a moment and give attention to what you pick up that's not okay within your team. If you see people holding back, reserved, not really opening up with you and not being honest and open with you, then there's probably something that's happened that built perceptions in their minds that they may be discussing amongst themselves over WhatsApp while you're online in meetings, or they are probably checking in with one another to see to what level of agreement is this particular incident. To what level of agreement is a negative emotion out there? And if that's strong, then you are in trouble as a leader. You're not going to get the best out of your team. So be responsible and build trust within the team. If you suspect that anything has happened that has distorted that trust, rather take some time, stop, and go into it. Don't be afraid to lean into the discomfort of addressing certain things. And if you feel that you're not really connected to your team or don't know how to, seek professional help of somebody that knows how to guide that process with you and with your team, moving into a better space, because it's possible to make that happen. Trust From trust, as Patrick Lencioni is saying, from trust, we start to have robust conversations, we can keep one another accountable, and then we can drive results. When you are able as a leader to manage both of these worlds of driving results but building great high performance teams, because there's trust and there's open communication and there's a beautiful atmosphere within the team where people are well and they're happy at work. When you're able to drive both of that, that's where great leadership is born. Because in that sense, people give you what we call discretionary effort. Discretionary effort means that it's the kind of effort that employees make, and it's their discretion to give you that effort. They don't have to. That's where people are willing to go the extra mile without you asking for it. And that's what that first leader that I referred to in my opening, that's what he really got right. He knew how to tap into people's discretionary effort. Imagine you have an organization, if you are a CEO or you are a senior leader, if you have a lot of people in your organization, imagine everybody is high performance, have a high performance mindset. It's not just the 5% that's high performance people that always get rewarded. Imagine you can get there with most of your staff. Can you imagine what a high performance organization you would be? Can you imagine how people would give their discretion to give you extra effort because they like and respect you as a leader? Isn't that something to be celebrating? Another point that I want to make is a lot of leaders are accused of not being strategic enough. Now, I know and understand that there's two skill sets that's very important for leaders, and I'm not talking about the people skills part of it. I'm talking about driving the business strategically and tactically. There's a difference between strategic thinking and tactical thinking. Strategic thinking is where we sit and we plan the future. You are required as a leader, and it's something that you simply have to do. If you've said I do to the position, you are responsible as a leader to come up with strategy, which means that you've got to think future, you've got to see future, you have to have the ability to envision that, and then to think about the plan, how to get there, what we want to do, why we want to do it that way, and how we will move there. What does the structured plan look like? A lot of people value and like structure in terms of the plan. The second skill set, the second part of that is to think tactically. Tactically means, what am I going to do today? The physical, actual, implementable steps that I'm going to take to make that vision possible. Lastly, a lot of leaders that I've listened to in conversations often refer to the problem children in their teams. And that when they say that, I already kind of cringe, because when you are a leader, yes, maybe you may have people in your team that are a little bit disruptive, or they're not really doing what they're supposed to be doing, that you struggle with deliverables, you struggle to get them motivated, and maybe they cause a lot of disharmony in the team. I believe that leaders are responsible to take those things on. Remember, you have the right to insist. You have the right to insist on performance. And you are the person that will enforce the values and the philosophy of the business. You are representing what the company stands for. And when you are employed in a certain role, the company has said to you, we trust in your ability to bring the best out of the people that work for us within the role that you're playing, and to ensure that it's done in a good, productive manner. Because you have said I do to that responsibility, you cannot refer to your staff as problem children. I would rather recommend that you sit down and you identify what is the problem, and you focus on your responsibility as a coach to move them and help them toward their desired state. So stop complaining about the staff and start taking action by having those difficult conversations. If you don't know how to, get a coach to teach you how to do it. Because your responsibility is to make sure that people are effective in what they need to do. And if they're not, your first stop is asking yourself, what is it that I am not doing enough of as a leader that will help and influence them toward that space that I need to take them into. So find a way to balance empathy and drive for results. Find a way to focus on the team and the individuals. Find a way to drive performance and happiness at work. When you are able to do that, you would find that your leadership will excel, your atmosphere that you create will be marvelous, and you will leave a legacy as a great leader that other people can aspire to, that other people can write about, and that other people can refer to as great learnings. Like many other leaders, there's many examples that we can give of people that's living and people that has passed on, that have taught us important lessons about leadership. So go on, lead, influence, be the inspiration that you find to hope in others.